Thanks very much for coming. We just had to get a few photographs out of the way. I'd like to welcome you all to Regent House for the grand finale of LaunchBox. So the first thing I'd like to do is introduce the person, the instigator of LaunchBox, the Dean of Research, Professor Vinnie Cal.
Thanks, John. So, good afternoon. Welcome to what we call Regent House. I guess Regent House is sort of as a traditional part of the college, as you can sort of imagine. It's, I guess, in some sense, an iconic building sitting above the front gate to Trinity. So more than that, I guess it sort of sits on the boundary between the university and the city. So it's quite a sort of strategic location in that respect. It sort of, represents our connection to the city and to the country and to the world beyond the college. So I think quite an iconic location for Trinity. When I was a student, this used to be known as the Junior Common Room, the JCR. So students came up here to have lunch. I think we had a football table and probably a pool table. Dan Crowley remembers probably. The only aspiration we had to making money at the time was, a few games of cards over lunch. I probably shouldn't have said that. So times have changed quite a bit. For the last 3 months, Regent House has been the home to LaunchBox, Trinity's student-focused incubator. A number of teams have been working here. I guess it's really been their home in some sense for the last 3 months, developing new business concepts. Developing skills that hopefully will stand to them throughout their career in terms of pursuing these particular ventures and other ventures, I suspect, in the future. There were 6 teams. You'll meet them all this afternoon. They were chosen from 10 teams that pitched to the Trinity Angels back in April. The Trinity Angels is a network of the college's, I guess, entrepreneurial alumni and friends who've supported this initiative. I'll tell you a bit more about that later. So they pitched mostly in the Science Gallery. We had angels sort of linking in from, I think, as far away as San Francisco and New York for the pitch session. 6 teams were chosen from the 10. The 10 were chosen previously from 45 teams that originally submitted applications to LaunchBox. So there's quite a lot of interest, I think, among the student body in this kind of venture, the idea that they can, increasingly I think it's on the agenda for people to start their own businesses. You'll see this afternoon the 6 teams come from a variety of different backgrounds. There are some current undergraduates, there are some recent graduates, there are some postgrads who've just finished theses. They come from right across the spectrum of disciplines in the college, not only from science and engineering, but from arts, humanities, from health science, from computer science, linguistics, nursing. So right across the spectrum of activity that the college engages in. You'll hear about the 6 teams: ADME, BiteBlock, Food Cloud, Synthetic, Wi-Fi Garden, Writing for Tiny. Very diverse projects, driven though from the students' previous coursework, from their theses, from their own interests, from their experience, and of course from sort of the social awareness of what's going on in society and needs that they might be able to address through their own work. I think in conclusion, what I'd like to say for anybody who was involved in LaunchBox, and I know a lot of people here, were involved in mentoring or working with the teams, during the course of the program. The energy and the commitment and the I guess leadership that the students displayed is just, I think, for all of us, really wonderful, and I hope that'll be reflected and you'll get that sense this afternoon. I'm going to hand you back to John, who's going to introduce you to each of the teams, and I hope it's a positive experience for you, and please engage with the teams. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Guoxian Yang. And my name is Oisin O'Sullivan, and together we're working on a project called Wi-Fi Guard.
Today, Wi-Fi has really become prevalent. In all the applications, Wi-Fi is used as a communication protocol. But if you think about it, the Wi-Fi signals are essentially just electromagnetic waves, which are quite sensitive to human body's interference. Hence, that means we can actually use Wi-Fi to detect the existence of a human. From this observation, I came up with the idea of Wi-Fi Guard. Wi-Fi Guard is a residential alarm system for Wi-Fi equipped properties. It passively monitors and learns the pattern of your Wi-Fi signal at home. It looks for disturbances to identify intrusions. In my opinion, Wi-Fi Guard is more than just a cool gadget. It addresses some of the long-lasting issues in existing security solutions. In today's home alarm system, each sensor covers a small area. This, for example, this is a layout of my one-bedroom apartment. In order to secure my apartment, you have to install many sensors. You have one PIR sensor to cover the hallway. And you have inertia and the contact sensor to secure the balcony. Another contact sensor for the window, and finally, a contact inertia sensor for the gate. All these sensors have to connect back to the control panel and report for the event. What a complicated system. This complexity results in high cost of existing solutions. Today, a basic version of security product costs €300 to €1,000. Also, you have to have a professional to install and tune the system for you. This not only adds to the overall cost, creates offload hassle, but more importantly, the human factor in the installation makes the system prone to false alarms. In the contrary, Wi-Fi Guard covers a much larger area compared to existing solutions, and it is extremely easy to install. The simplicity means that the cost is much lower, and we use machine learning to eliminate false alarms. Here is a demo of a working prototype. I have installed the system on my Android phones. This is now a prototype of an alarm. This alarm passively monitors the Wi-Fi signal in my home. The installation is very simple. I simply connect it to my Wi-Fi router and leave it in the corner of my bedroom. I have another Android phone which acts as a controller. Before the first use of my system, I can train the system to learn about my apartment. I press one button to tell the system I'm home, and for the system and walk around my apartment for it to learn about the pattern when somebody is in my home. I then press another button to tell the system no one is home, so that it learns the pattern in that scenario. You only need to train the system for once before the first use. After that, the system is ready for daily usage. In case somebody breaks in my home, his body gonna reflect the signal, which creates disturbances. That triggers an alarm.
The finished product will have a much louder alarm as opposed to the ringtone we're using at present on mobile phones.
That is for sure. And now I want to talk about the business side. I could tell you that the residential alarm business is a 19 billion market globally. And I could tell you that that market still has a huge potential for growth in the sense that the penetration rate for American households is only 15%, 13% for Norway, 6% for France, and 1% only for Portugal. But who cares about those boring numbers? All I know is that protecting your property and protecting your home is a basic universal desire for every single family. And I believe that an easy to install, convenient to use, and low-cost security solution can really improve people's life. Wouldn't you agree so? Thank you.
when my Wi-Fi breaks, I can pick up my neighbours from 2 doors up the street. Is there any chance that I could set off his alarm?
No, because this is essentially a passive sensor, so you only monitor your own Wi-Fi alarm signal. So even if you picking up this signal, but you are not reflecting his signal received at his phone, so this wouldn't trigger his alarm, nor wouldn't trigger your alarm.
Yeah.
Hi, you said one of the advantages back here. You said one of the advantages. You said one of the advantages of it was that you didn't need very many sensors around the house.
Yes.
What if you live in a place with thick walls or that the Wi-Fi signal doesn't go very far? I mean, it can be hard enough to get Wi-Fi penetration in your house anyway.
That is a good question, but in my experiment, I never observed a wall that completely blocked the Wi-Fi signals. Usually, because the Wi-Fi signal has a much larger wavelength than infrared, so by nature, it penetrates the obstacle much better than infrared. So from our experiment, we observed that for 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, sometimes for 3 bedroom apartments, one single alarm is sufficient. But just in case that you live in a huge mansion that you have multiple bedrooms and one alarm wouldn't cover all, we also implemented a collaborative system so you can have multiple components. They learn at the same time, they work at the same time, there's no hassle to use.
Most modern alarm systems will detect people before they get into your house, while they're in the process of breaking in. Will that?
Yes, I get what you mean. This is, again, a very good question. So we talk to many people in the security business, which is quite conservative business and has strict standards. And the standard states that when somebody breaks in a home, you have to report an alarm within 10 seconds. I think that is the regulation. What you see there is around 5, 6, or even 7 seconds. But remember, this is a prototype. Android system limits the speed of the detection. Ideally, we should be able to detect within 5 seconds. That's not a big problem. Thank you.
Have you gone to the insurance companies and what have they said in relation to this? Would your insurance cover such a system?
Okay, the honest answer is no, we haven't talked directly to an insurance company. But we understand the fact that if you have alarm, residential alarm installed at home, the insurance would drop. So there is a benefit for the user. But I presume the condition for that is the alarm system have to pass certain type of standard. More specifically, EN 50131. That would be our next step objective. So we want to push our system to pass that standard. Once that is passed, I think the insurance is not a big issue.
Yeah, once we pass the certificates at EN 50131-1 and -3, you can get a 10 to 15% discount on your premium with most insurance companies. So that's a huge benefit, added benefit for the consumer. Any other questions?
Okay, thanks very much. Thank you. Guys, that was great.
So I created Synthetic with the idea that I want to really revolutionize the way art works. So I want to make the first ever smart paintbrush, where human involvement just isn't really needed at all. So the idea behind a smart art is that it would behave kind of like a human creates art, where the same way a human gets inspiration from their experiences and examples in the real world, so too would a computer get inspiration from the examples it's fed. Here we see one input, where the computer then learns that, and uses through machine learning and statistical methods, and then is able to create new but similar outputs. Now, before I go too far down the road of our technology, first I'd like to acknowledge LaunchBox, who took us from concept to reality so quickly in such a short time. With their help, we managed to register our company, build a website, and even gain a commercial following. I was able to travel to Los Angeles this summer and attend SIGGRAPH, which is the world's premier conference for the computer graphics industry, where I was able to snag our first early adopter customer, Surface Mimic, which is a New York City-based company, and it supplies digital media to the visual effects sector. During my correspondence with Surface Mimic CEO Paul Callender, he wrote something that I feel really captures the spirit of why I started this company. And with his permission, I'm going to share it with you. Eric, I'd like to reiterate how game-changing this technology could be. content generation is a huge issue for the game development and VFX industries. And smart tools that can automate away a lot of the drudgery will be enormously important. So basically what Paul's talking about is a supply and demand curve. As computer performance and memory increases exponentially over the years, so too does the amount of digital media that they need to fill the average movie or video game project. Unfortunately, the amount of human artists, so the supply of art that they can dedicate to any given project, just can't really keep up with that trend. So basically this supply and demand differential is the market opportunity that synthetic is trying to basically exploit. So our market niche, based on our market research, seems to be potentially $1 billion industry in time. But I doubt this is what Paul had in mind when he was talking about the drudgery and all that. I think what he was really talking about was bananas. These bananas look terrible. And this is the sort of thing that Paul has to deal with day to day. Basically, like, in video games and movies, they have this technique called cloning, which is just taking one art resource and then trying to copy it over and over again in unnoticeable ways, which has various degrees of success. But realistically, you'd want each one of these bananas to be unique. So that's really what our technology is based on. It's based on, with very little or no human cost, add the richness and variety of the real world into the digital realm. But bananas are kind of a toy example. A better example would be, let's say you're away to digital and you want to make Lord of the Rings 4 Revenge of the Hobbits, and you need to have 1 million orc monsters fighting a giant orc monster war. You could do what they did last time and hire 1,000 artists for 3 years to make all those giant monster orcs. Or a better solution would be to use technology, have 50 artists make some seed examples like the green heads here, and then have the computer just automatically generate the rest of your army, like the blue heads were done here. We call this technology Artomatic. So Synthetic actually has 2 products. So we have Artomatic, which is our main project, which we've been working on for over a year now. But then for the purposes of LaunchBox, we actually started kind of a smaller spin-off project. This basically just takes one specific feature out of Artomatic and kind of makes it its own standalone thing. The strategy behind this was Artomatic's kind of a huge undertaking, and it could be a potentially industry-changing piece of software. So we wanted to kind of test ourselves in more of an easily digestible, smaller project, where we could kind of test our supply lines from start to finish, development cycles, get some traction, get some early customers, just get some money coming in, just basically have a trial run before we go pro. So the idea behind Color Bandit is it's our color transfer algorithm from the big thing, where you have the colors of one image that you really like and the content of another, and you basically just transfer it over. So it's a simple but powerful tool. This summer we managed to extract it from the main program and then put it in the form of a Photoshop plugin for both PC and Mac, and we've submitted it to the Adobe Exchange Marketplace. So hopefully once it's finished with review in a few weeks, it should be up for sale. So moving forward, our plan is to promote Color Bandit over the next month. So we don't really have a marketing budget, so the plan is to promote it to magazines and various websites. Then we want to focus on Artomatic, get it to an MVP, minimum viable product stage, by New Year, get it over to Paul, get some iterations happening on it, and then grow the company either naturally through revenue or through VC money. So yeah, I'm ready to take questions, comments, compliments, or insults. I'm not picky, I just want attention.
How much are you going to sell Color Bandit for?
For $50.
Is there any reason why you selected $50?
Yeah, so we kind of reviewed about 100 kind of professional grade plugins, and the price range kind of went from $30 to about $300 depending on what they did. And I just kind of, a bit of it was just asking around people what they'd pay for it, and no one really said 50 was too much for them. And yeah, basically I kind of looked what other plugins did, like how useful they were generally, how complicated they were, and gauged it kind of where I thought it fell on that.
Now we're doing our price interview for the past few weeks, asking people if 50, testing if 50 or 60 it's acceptable for them. There are people we found, even they say 60 is acceptable. So we just want to put it into the market and let the market to test the price.
I like your strategy of getting to market quickly with a minimal viable product. But is there a risk you could actually alert potential competitors to the intellectual property in Automatic by going to market early with MVP?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't quite understand that.
So I like the strategy of taking one aspect of your big enterprise and getting to market with it early. But is there a potential with your color banded product, you may have alerted the industry to the IP in your larger product?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that. So, I mean, really, like, Color Bandit just has the color transfer algorithm, which is totally patentable. We haven't yet, just because patents are expensive. But right now, it's just I'm keeping it very secret. Once it starts making money, I plan on patenting it. The rest of the algorithms are so different that kind of encompass Artomatic that I don't think kind of competitors or anyone could really be worried about me leaking precious information just through Color Bandit.
So why did you pick bananas? Is there a reason?
There is a reason. So I'm not a very good artist, and we don't have an artist on staff. So so basically, I was like, okay, what can I personally make? What kind of art can I can I make actually look like a real thing with my given level of skill? So I thought, hey, bananas. Yeah, I can probably find like a banana source texture somewhere on the internet, royalty free, and create just a banana shape. It took me 5 hours. So that's why bananas, I couldn't do anything more complicated. Those heads I just found on the internet that someone else made, and they were royalty free.
So you mentioned about LaunchBox, where you'd be without LaunchBox, that kind of thing. And I've heard, by the way, your project manager for LaunchBox, he's a really handsome, intelligent guy. I don't know if he's in the audience at the moment.
And tall.
So my question was, if you hadn't come to LaunchBox, that's a really loaded question, I guess, where would you have gone? What would you have done otherwise?
Oh, probably begging on the street now. I mean, so I've been working on this for about a year, and I'm pretty dedicated to it. So I think eventually I'd be at this point. I'm not sure if Color Bandit would have happened without LaunchBox's support. I mean, it's so hard to say, because who knows, maybe on some parallel meeting, get into LaunchBox and he's way behind. But I mean, it's obvious that LaunchBox has been a great accelerator, and I'm way further ahead than I would have been, especially with the support of the mentors. Yeah, who really gave us key advice as well as contacts and, that kind of stuff. Even kind of quick, simple business advice was really important, because we're kind of coming from the student world where we don't really have any real world experience. So just getting the perspective of someone who's done it before has been really valuable.
The basic thing about business is about your knowledge to an industry. So LaunchBox provides us a huge opportunities to get more insights in the industry. Now we could be semi-expert in graphic design industry. We're royal members of a lot of graphic design groups, whether on LinkedIn or some places. So we had a lot of friends who are designers and painters, and yeah, so we have more insights and we know what they're thinking about and what they really need. So as long as we know these, we can tailor our product into something they're willing to buy and pay for that. That's really important. LaunchBox gave us very valuable opportunities, and yeah, we can't get such deep insight without this great program.
Thank you.
So my name is Joey. I'm the project manager here at LaunchBox, as you may have realized. So what I'd like to do now is introduce the third team that's going to be presenting, and they're called AdMe. And I'd like to say before the guys come on stage, what's a bit special about AdMe is that LaunchBox actually has 5 teams that are being funded this year. And AdMe asked at the very start of the project, could they come along and use the space and get involved regardless of that. And so they've been here just as much as anybody else, working just as hard. And it really, I think it's a testament that the community is there in Trinity. So without any further ado.
First of all, I'd just like to start off by thanking the LaunchBox for having hosted us here in this magnificent office for the past 2 months. We were really thrilled to come and join the teams here. It's been a fantastic experience working with these teams, the mentors. It's just been Absolutely fantastic. So without any further ado, let's start off. We're ADME. We're the ultimate student companion. Our team is made up of international students. I'm French myself. Half of the team is French, half Irish. Good mixture. It's all right. We don't fight too much. So it's between a mixture of business backgrounds and computer scientist backgrounds. So ADME is the ultimate student companion. It's the new way to discover college life. We have built a management platform for those amazing students who love to share their passions through societies. Having worked very closely with major societies in Trinity College, we developed a solution to common problems faced when signing up new members, promoting events, and collecting money. ADME makes it seamlessly easy to run a society by bringing mobile technologies to today's college life. Our user-friendly iOS and Android app enables freshers to discover the full extent of what university has to offer on the go, on your fingertip.
So the market is huge. The mobile payment industry is set to grow sixfold by 2016. We found that on average, a student spends on average 200 euros every year on college-related activities. And so just for Trinity, that's 15,000 students, so a total cash flow of 3 million euros. And you can see how scalable our business is, going to the USA with $4 billion.
Hi. So now we're going to do a small demo of actually what our platform do and how it works. So the first thing is setting up a society. When you're a society, you want an easy way to talk to your members. The way you do that, enter an email, enter a password. Second bit, enter a name. Here we have God, because it's the God Society. Put a picture, your Facebook details, because every time you push on Facebook some information from members, it will be sent to the app. So it's one platform where you can communicate with your members on all the different platforms. Finally, adding your location. As a student, it's always very hard to know where your societies are on campus. They have very different rooms. They're a bit scattered around campus. So here they can choose their location thanks to Google Maps. We've put it in LaunchBox here. And there you go. This is a society that's been created. From here, it's very easy for them to add members because during Freshers Week, most societies have a pen and a paper where they ask the members to write their name and their email addresses. That list gets lost very often. So what we've done is just two simple fields, a name, a surname, an email address. Adds a member. From there, we send an email to the member, giving them a username and a password with which they'll be able to log on to our app. Here you have a small example of a student being added to the society. The second problem we've wanted to tackle is creating events and collecting money for those events. Once again, with a few clicks, a society can create a paid event with our fee that's added to it. Obviously, if it's a free event, we're not going to take any fees. So we ask them just to add an address, a few basic description about the event, a picture. Societies can also choose to make the event private or not, because most societies have events only for their members, and some that are open to the public. For example, Trinity Entrepreneur Society, which Oisin represents, have a lot of public events. They want a lot of people to come, whereas the Phil, when they have debates, they're only going to want to have their members joining those events. So there we go. That's an event creating. Once these events have been created, we allow the societies to manage these events and know exactly how many tickets they've sold, to whom, and when. Furthermore, they can decide to cancel events, which happens a lot. If you don't have a platform like this and you want to cancel events, how do you do it? You go on Facebook, you're going to try and tell your members, they might not all know about it. And the second problem is how do you refund them? It's always very hard to see exactly which students have joined the event and have paid for it. Finally, we want our societies to be able to contact their members seamlessly easy. We've created a post feature which enables them to write a post, send it, and it's pushed straight away to the app. The app. This is for the students. So we've developed on iOS and Android. When a student has joined a society, he receives an email and a password which they enter onto the app. And from there, they can see every single society from which they're members, check out which events have been published, and see the updates of their societies. So we're just going to run you really quickly through one of our features, which is buying a ticket. So a student wants to buy a ticket to the LaunchBox event. Just for the example, we've put the event at 10 euros. They enter their credit card details. We're using Stripe. Stripe, which is the leading mobile provider in the States. They enable us to implement payments without us handling any of the credit card information. The first time a student puts his credit card details onto the app, these credit card details are stored on Stripe. So any other time they want to buy a ticket, they will not need to put their credit card details in. They just click buy tickets and they receive a confirmation that they've purchased the tickets with a unique ticket ID. Thank you very much.
Hi, nice presentation. Initially, I didn't think it was going anywhere, but then I really got it. The question is, with 20 million users potentially in a 4 billion market, and you're taking 8% of the spend or whatever, who's doing this already in larger campuses? Take, for example, Stanford.
Thank you. So in Stanford, I'm sure you've heard of Clinkle, which is a startup that's very secretive. We don't really know what they do, but they do mobile payments. And their niche market is students. There's very little information. They've just raised $20 million, and we're not quite sure what it's going to do. Other than that, there's an app in the UK that's launching at the same time as us called 360 Campus, and they do something very similar to us. So at the moment, they are ourselves and them who are targeting the student market for mobile payments.
We have somebody here.
You said they're similar to you, so what's different about you then?
So there's a variety of ways that we differ from other applications. First of all, we have extreme proximity to the market that we're handling. We have constructed and established a relationship with a Central Societies Committee here in Trinity College. And this is something that we think is very strong. We have direct contact with the society officers. They're doing the promotion themselves of the application, ensuring that we get good traction, reach with our student market. Furthermore, we have additional features that we have applied to our application that these competitors don't have just yet. We're pretty sure they'll get them further down the line, but this is a way that we can make sure that we're innovative enough.
Okay, so that's good for Trinity.
That's going for Trinity.
That's good for Trinity you've established. So how will you expand then into other universities, into other countries?
So first of all, Ireland is a very peculiar market. I'm sure you understand this yourselves. You need contact within your market. And we're the first movers in Ireland. They're sticking to the UK market, and switching from the UK market to the Irish one is something that's rather complex. We have this, again, our contacts in the Central Societies Committee have enabled us to go and approach other universities with similar bodies taking care of societies events. We're making sure to establish our product well enough within this market as an experiment for the next year. And after having changed a few peaks here and there within the application, we'll go further into the other markets.
Okay, if there aren't any further questions, we're keeping pretty well to time, so thanks very much, guys.
Okay, I'd just like to begin by asking everyone how many if you could raise one hand for each bike you've had stolen ever. So, yeah, there's a couple of people with two. So, my name is Brian Higgins, and this is John Hickey. And for the summer, we've been trying to kind of get into the mind of bike thieves and just really understand why and how they seem to be stealing so many bikes around us. And I think one of the most interesting things was the amount of misconceptions that there are about bike theft. And really, it is almost completely unorganized. At the point of the theft, it tends to be individuals unorganized and doing it themselves, quite looking for something that's quite easy to break and quick to get away on. The organization of the man with the van tends to happen afterwards when the bike has been stolen on. And so how do these people find really quite easy locks to break? Well, there's a couple of problems with locks. Firstly, they're exceptionally expensive, especially which often doesn't justify it when your bike is not brand new or particularly expensive. They're also quite heavy, which we find that commuters and people find it just really awkward to use day to day. So that explains why people aren't using the best of locks at all times. But also, even the best of locks tend to be not indestructible. They tend still to be just a deterrent to stealing your bike, and they tend to slow the potential thief down. So what have we done? We have a cheap and effective deterrent. And this week, having filed a patent application, we're really happy to unveil the Bite Lock. And John has one right here to show you just how quite small and simple it is. So what does it do? It bites onto the chain of the bike. When it's there, you cannot cycle away. Made out of steel, it's almost impossible to take off the chain without either breaking the chain or removing it completely. We find that with these unorganized thieves, the best way for them to do is to get away from the scene of the crime as quick as possible by cycling the bike. And so when used in conjunction with a normal lock, not only do we stop them or deter them from taking the bike, we also stop and deter them from cycling away with the bike. What else can the Bite Lock have? It also has a cable. That means you can secure your bike frame and your wheels to a bike rack. It also comes in a sleek holder, which sits onto the frame of your bike. That means it takes only like 5 seconds to put it onto the chain, and also only 5 seconds again to take it off. Because again, with commuters using their bike every day, locking it up 2 or 3 times a day, convenience is absolutely key. And finally, it's bright and yellow, because we want it to be easy to see. Because again and again, what we find with bike theft, it's not about completely stopping bike theft completely. It's about making the thief think twice and walk on to the next and the easiest bike. So where do you guys come in? To get Bite Lock off the ground, we're hoping to, in the next year, to crowdfund €20,000 to get the first production run and to get it into the shops in Dublin that have said they were really excited to trial it out. So how can you do that? You can follow us on Facebook or on Twitter to be the first, so you don't even have to contribute to the campaign, but just share Bike Lock, put it out there and get it well known. But if you want to be the first to own Bite Lock for as little as €20, keep an eye out for our Indiegogo campaign, where you will be able to become one of the first people to do that. Also, don't stop there. We're currently trying to get Bite Lock as cheap as possible and source it from the Far East, and we're working with a couple of people there. But we're also really interested for people who have experience in production, retail, and promotion, who would like to help an early stage startup and get involved in a really great product. But finally, if you want to find out more, if you want to see how it works, if you want to find out how you can help, or if you want to find out how you can be the first person to get one, please come over to the stand and talk to John and I afterwards about Bite Lock. So thank you very much.
Your market research, how many bikes did you steal? Many?
None.
Is there a chance someone won't notice it's on the chain and they'll cycle away and wreck the bike? You know, the way you might drive a car that was canned.
That is somewhat of a chance, but what actually happens when you cycle away on it, it tends to derail the chain more so than anything, and then it can kind of get stuck, so it doesn't actually wreck the spokes of the chain too much. But again, a small amount of damage to your bike by a thief would possibly be a little bit better than having the bike being stolen completely. But it doesn't damage it, absolutely.
And you mentioned 20,000.
Yes.
For €20,000. So, like, what's the scale? What's the number of units you're going to have to be able to produce to bring your cost to below €20 per unit?
Yeah. So it looks like the initial one would have to be about 5 to 10,000 units to produce initially.
You've already spoken to manufacturers.
We've already spoken to a couple of contacts who, within Ireland, who have manufacturers in China, and they've given us some rough estimates. but we do need to get like a final estimate. But they've kind of.
And then on the other side of the equation, you mentioned a lot of, you might have been joking, I don't know, but you mentioned a lot of research on, thieves' behaviour.
Yeah.
Did you actually monitor thefts? And I mean, is that understanding that it's all about the chain? Is that based on something?
So, I suppose it is exactly difficult to get hold of someone who, in essence, doesn't exist. But we spoke to a number of people who would kind of have contact, so with the guards, the probation office, even people around campus who have tricky backgrounds.
Trinity.
Walking through Trinity, at least. But a lot of that feedback is coming from the guards, the JLOs who are dealing with those sort of offenders and who are picking up those bikes day to day, and they're talking about how it does tend to be young males who are looking for either money to sell off quickly or looking for a bike to go around town with. So the ability to use the bike does seem to be quite key to them.
I have two questions. First of all, in terms of the commuter, what's the oil factor? Because you are putting the application onto the chain, so it has to be easy to put on, and also there shouldn't be an oil leak then down the stem of the bike or whatever.
Okay, yeah. So if you actually just see it, it's completely encased. So we put this on I don't know how many chains, and any oil always remains inside. I've never gotten any oil on our hands, so it's actually quite easy to put on and take off from the chain without getting any oil. And then obviously the inside of it might need to be cleaned like your bike chain on occasion. But.
And the second question is, like if you go to Copenhagen or somewhere like that, they have the most rudimentary locks, so bike theft isn't an issue. It seems to be a Glasgow and Dublin and maybe a London thing. So have you done a wider research as to where the main markets are for bicycle theft?
Yeah, the main markets seem to be the sort of Anglo-English speaking countries. So the US has a lot of crime, and also within Ireland and the UK mainly where we'd be kind of focusing. And it tends to be quite, again, this sort of product would tend to be based in cities where that sort of crime happens, where, for example, the city district of London tends to be where most bike crimes happen in London, and then they're sold a little bit further out in, say, the East End or somewhere. So it wouldn't be relevant to those sort of countries where they tend to be cycling in more rural areas, but it might work in their cities.
So Brian, have you estimated how big the market is?
So
what's the total? Yeah.
The bicycle accessory market is about 5 billion, and so just a quick estimate of the bike lock market within that, because that would include clothing and everything, would be roughly 1 billion, but I don't have any closer figures. That's just an estimate based on some other figures.
Just one more question. Okay, well, it's great that we know now that the solution to eliminate bike theft is we all stop speaking English. That was a bit better, wasn't it? So we move on to the next thing. Thanks.
I'm Isel, and
I'm Alex.
And welcome to Food Cloud. In Ireland, over 600,000 people face food poverty, and 1 million tonnes of food is wasted. Food Cloud wants to change this by matching food surplus with food scarcity. Food businesses, such as restaurants, cafes, caterers, face increasing costs of disposing of biodegradable waste due to regulation brought in by the Irish government in June 2010. And yet, food waste is inevitable due to uncertain demand. From our research, we have found the primary barriers to donating food for businesses to be liability concerns and the time and effort involved in donating.
Charities, on the other hand, face tightening budgets and increased demand for their services. By having contracts in place, We mitigate liability for the business, and by using the app, donations can be made in seconds, giving businesses a convenient way to reduce their waste costs and work towards achieving their corporate social responsibility goals. For charities, FoodCloud provides access to free food in their local community, alleviating financial pressures and enhancing their service. So how do we do this? By using technology, contracts, and a rich network of businesses and community leaders, all without the need of a capital-intensive physical food bank.
Using our app, businesses can upload details of their surplus food and the time the food's available for collection. The app then automatically sends a text message to the nearest charity group, who can then accept the offer and collect the food from the donating business. If the offer doesn't suit, because not all food types suit all charities, the text is then passed on to the next organisation. 250,000 tonnes of food is wasted by the commercial sector in Ireland annually, costing the industry €35 million in disposal costs. If we could capture 1% of this, it would result in 2.5 million additional meals. And we believe that we can target and redistribute much more than this. This service is currently not available in Ireland or the majority of EU countries, and we have been invited to present at the Social Innovation Assembly in Amsterdam in November.
FoodCloud's key visionary goal is to become the organisation at the forefront of the issues of food waste and food poverty, and ultimately become a self-sustainable social enterprise. We launched a 3-month pilot with Tesco last Monday, starting with their Talbot Street store, and with plans to register up to 10 more stores over the course of this coming month. They made their first donation on Saturday. 10 loaves of bread were donated to Streetline and the Lighthouse up on Montjoy Square. We are also working with It's a Bagel, who have donated over 270 bagels in the last few weeks since signing up, and are now in the process of registering all their stores within Dublin. We also have 10 charities signed up, with a further 10 to be added over the course of the next week. We have explored potential funding avenues from a variety of places. Just on Friday, we received news that we have been accepted onto LaunchPad's upcoming incubator. Looking a bit further forward, we have also realised that we're eligible for EU funding from the FEED programme, the Environmental Protection Agency, and in case any of you noticed, the Arthur Guinness projects were running a fairly major campaign, and it turns out that we came first in the food category. Thank you very much. I'm sure we hassled quite a few of you in here, so that's a grudging round of applause. However, we do remain open to any further investment or sponsorship. 2014 is the EU year against food waste, and FoodCloud is perfectly placed to be at the forefront of that movement. We are the leading organisation within Ireland and have received recognition on EU level. Finally, we'd just like to say a word of thanks to LaunchBox and to all our sponsors who have supported us over the past few months. Both Isolde and I would be delighted if you'd take a few moments to come and speak to us at the end, and I'm sure we can fill you in some of our stories that we've accumulated over the past few months, visiting various charities and businesses across Dublin. So, as I said, thank you very much, and we welcome any questions.
How do you deal with the liability issue still, for the stores? Because they can't walk away from that. So how are you going to...
Yes, so we've contracts that the charity sign, and by signing this, it's an agreement, and it was based on that used by Pret a Manger, who kind of set the standard for donating food in the UK. So it's friendly enough for charities that they're willing to sign it, but it also says that once they receive the food from the business, it is their responsibility, as long as the business has complied with relevant food safety standards. And most businesses all businesses we've spoken to are happy with this.
Quick question as to how do you match the food given to the food required so that effectively you don't become a commercial bin man for
Yes, so we did a lot of research and we visited up to 30 charities around the city centre to find out what kind of food types they use, what days and times they can mostly collect. And from that we realised that groceries were in highest demand, and after that we pursued Tesco's and retail. So from that we now know that we have enough charities registered on the system that should cover every day and most times, and that all the food types that Tesco's donate are appropriate to the charities. We also ask businesses, as a rule of thumb, not to donate anything they wouldn't eat themselves, and we give charities the right to refuse a donation if they're not happy with the standard.
Hi, so disclaimer, first I've worked with NDRC, so we're predisposed to be great fans of yours, and delighted to have you joining Launchpad. I don't know that much about the food industry, but one thing I think is probably true, that poverty is associated, at least in developed nations, not so much with lack of calories, but with lack of quality. Firstly, am I right in that? But secondly, more importantly, is what you're doing gonna, in your view, be able to provide healthy, the right kind of nutrition, or is there a danger that you'll just be providing lots of additional calories of not necessarily the quality that people need?
That's actually a fantastic question. One of the charities I visited, is a place called Belvedere Community Centre, and they feed upwards of 120 children every day. And we spoke to them, and as is the case with many charities, the demand for their services has trebled in some cases. And we went into this small kitchen, and they were serving chicken nuggets. And I sort of looked around, it was sort of at the start of our research, and I thought, goodness me, these kids surely can be getting better food than chicken nuggets. And they were very honest with me. They said, our funding has been slashed massively. We provide comfort, not nourishment. What we want to do is alleviate the financial pressure. For example, 10 loaves of bread. That can, if we're able over the coming months to build up a regular demand or supply or quantity of food within the system, then we truly believe that we'll be able to alleviate some of the financial pressures. And in turn, they may be able to invest whatever precious resources they have in sort of more nutritious foodstuffs.
Yeah, most charities in Ireland, in comparison to the US and the UK, they serve food in addition to another service that they provide. So they deal with homelessness and joblessness. So most of the organisations we're working with, food isn't their main service, but it acts as an enhancement to their service.
That's great, guys. Thank you very much.
Writing for Tiny, helping you find the words. Imagine, or indeed remember, what it is like to expect a baby. The excitement, the trepidation. Now imagine how a 3-year-old may feel. Your child has to be admitted to hospital for a routine yet difficult procedure. How are you going to alleviate her fears, and indeed your own? You've been promoted, fantastic news, but your 6-year-old is just making friends, and now he has to be uprooted. How are you going to help him through this? Life is full of ups and downs, and sometimes it is difficult to find the words. That is where Writing for Tiny can help. Writing for Tiny make helpful, personalised, unique ebooks to help parents to communicate with the little people in their lives, be it about common everyday issues like moving house, or more difficult issues like divorce. Writing for Tiny has 2 products. They're divided into Tiny Topics and Tiny Tales. The Tiny Topics are pre-made and the Tiny Tales are personalised. There are 4 Tiny Topics ready to go to market. The second product is the personalised Tiny Tales. They're personalised by name, age, gender and appearance, and the topic that the parent wants to address. This bespoke software, which is in development and will be ready by early December, is very simple to use. The parent logs in with their email address. They go to Lady Tiny's bookshelf. They pick their topic, in this case, bad dreams. They input their child's name, their child's gender, their child's skin tone, hair colour, and hairstyle. Very important. And outfit, also very important. And this little personalised character, which is based around their child, can be inputted into any of our tiny topics. The ebook is then delivered directly from us to them, to their device. So it's downloadable on iPads, on all phones and laptops. So I'm Gail, and I founded Writing for Tiny. And when I worked as a paediatric nurse, I used to do little drawings for the children to distract them from procedures. And I noticed how responsive they were to the drawings, especially if they could identify with the drawing. And that is a key concept of Writing for Tiny, that the child identifies with their story and themselves. The other members are Nicola Davis, a drama graduate, and Michael Carter, a paediatric doctor. So who's our market? The children's ebook industry has increased by 297% between May 2011 and May 2012. There are more babies born in 2011 than since records began. Our target market is parents of children aged 2 to 6 years, and there are 500,000 children aged that age in Ireland alone. Globally, there are 4.2 children born every second. This is a large market, and this is our market. We have tested the 4 tiny topics that are ready to go, and in Montessori's around Dublin, and they've received amazing feedback from parents, children, and teachers. So what did we do well in LaunchBox? We have made tremendous progress. LaunchBox really put a fast-forward button on Writing for Tiny. We've optimised the time and the space and the people we have met. Our illustrations have come a long way from My Little Doodles, and Lady Tiny now even has her own blog. We've 4 tiny topics ready for market, namely new baby, moving house, going to hospital, and bad dreams. Our database of characters, which is comprised of 4,000 variations, will be ready by December. It's very nearly finished. We know our market, our advertising strategy, and our competitors, and we've been approached by future collaborators to do a series of books with children with speech and language difficulties. So the future. Writing for Tiny is all about children, communication, and most of all the family, and that's the ethos behind Writing for Tiny. How children and parents communicate nowadays is totally different, and we want to be at the forefront of this change. This is far more than just an ebook. It is a modern, educational, personalised parenting tool. When we launch in December, there'll be 10 tiny topics ready for market, and this library will be constantly expanded and updated and built upon. We will also publish in other languages. We also have more products planned, such as Lady Tiny Fables, which are interactive stories that the children will design themselves, educational cartoons, magazines, parenting forums, and talking to tiny communication centres. We aim to be the brand most associated with child health and well-being, where child and parent relationships is at the core of our brand. We welcome investment to build this brand. Finally, children may be able to tap and zoom and replay, but they still love stories. We believe that open communication between a parent and child is key to their relationship. We entered LaunchBox because we saw it as a remarkable opportunity to incubate our baby, and our baby is now a toddler and ready to explore. Thank you for listening.
Hi. So, 2 questions. First is how much are you going to charge? And the second is, when we spoke before, you were actually already selling this, but I think you were doing it by hand or in a slower way, and you're probably charging a lot more. How well was that going?
Okay, so your first question was charge. At the moment, we're going to, the Tiny Tales, which are the personalised ones, are going to be €25, and the ready-to-go ones are going to be €15. So that's based on research that we've done in personalised books and just the book industry in general. The other question about the handmade ones was that I was really testing the market then. I actually wasn't charging people. I was just doing it just to get feedback. So I didn't charge them back then. But I will now.
Hi. Rather than just aiming at a market segment of 2 to 6 year olds, have you looked at older children with autism? One of my friends has an autistic child, and to get through a day, they would generally use a sequence of pictures to plan out the day and show the child where they're going to, what will happen during the day. Otherwise, they can become quite confused.
Yeah.
So something like this could be extremely useful for regular activities.
Yeah, well, my background is paediatric nursing, and now we're both actually studying speech and language therapy, so I have a huge interest in autism and communication difficulties in general. So when I said we are collaborating with somebody in the future with speech and language difficulties, Asperger's and autism. So we are including children with special needs probably a little bit later on. We're going to just deal with what we have at the moment, and then later on we've big plans for children with special needs as well. We want to be inclusive always.
Are there any further questions? So I'm sure I'd like to thank Gail and Nicola and all the teams. I think, you know, I have to remember a lot of these teams are undergraduates, most of them, so they're not, it's not your usual pitch. This isn't like, I mean, it's great that some of them are moving in towards the Launchpad, but it's fantastic to see, I personally think, the quality. So thanks very much. A big round of applause for everybody.
So it falls to me to wrap up. So anybody who thinks that Ireland's future is not in safe hands is wrong. I think, I mean, you know it when you work in a university, right? But I mean, just we have brilliant students who have brilliant ideas, who are motivated, who are interested, who have great skills, and I think this is. I hope you feel as I do. This has been really a testament to that. I think it's really been a super event. I'm absolutely delighted, and I hope everybody had a really positive experience in their 3 months here, and I'm sure they're all going to go from strength to strength in their future careers. And so I think it's, from my point of view, congratulations to all of you. So I think Trinity has a sort of long tradition, I hope, of promoting entrepreneurs and innovators and leaders in lots of different disciplines, in technology, in business, in culture, and in social enterprise. And we recognize, I think, that more and more of our students, want to pursue entrepreneurship, who want to deliver and create their own businesses and their own ventures. And we very much want to support that. We've been doing quite a lot of work to make that happen, and hopefully you'll see more initiatives in that vein coming out of the college in the near future. So LaunchBox is kind of the first of those. As I say, one of many that I hope you'll see. I sort of started this last year in thinking about what we could do to help people who have that aspiration among the students, to create their own business. And so I sat down with a group of people who were, for the most part, I suppose, Trinity alumni who were entrepreneurs or venture capitalists in their own right. We put a sort of little working group together, and I really want to acknowledge those people because they really helped to shape this. So Stuart Coulson, who I guess isn't here today because he's based in San Francisco, but Joey Mason, Sean Blanchfield, Brian Caulfield, in particular, helped us to shape this event, working with a number of people in my team, and so John Whelan you've met already, Deirdre Tracy, Ruth Carney from the Innovation Academy, Ian Matthews, the college treasurer, came together to shape the programme. At a reasonably early stage, when we figured out more or less what we wanted to do, we started to involve the students. So Rory Dunn, the president of the Students' Union, and Colin Moore, who was involved heavily with the Trinity Entrepreneurial Society, got involved and helped us to put the programme together. And those people put really quite a lot of work into putting this programme together, and we did it in a very, very quickly. We got the programme up and running in, I guess, about 3 months, which I think is a testament to the amount of effort that people put into that, so I really want to acknowledge that. Underpinning this whole programme has been the involvement of our alumni and friends and the so-called Trinity Angels that I mentioned earlier, who supported the programme in a variety of ways. They supported it financially, and all of the funding for the programme came from the Angels. But perhaps more importantly, they supported it by acting as mentors and by opening up their networks and contacts, and by coming in and working with the students. I think all of the alumni, all of the Angels, and they're fairly diverse and they're fairly much much spread around the world, have been here and have worked with various teams at various times, and I think that's also a great commitment. So Sean Blanchfield, Brian Caulfield, Stuart Coulson, Paul Duffy, Terry Gallagher, Joey Mason, John Ryan, Beata Schuler and Fiona Thomas, I think also deserve to be credited with their involvement. On the ground, we had a couple of people who helped out running the program. So Eric and Joseph at various times, were involved in managing the program. You've met Joseph. So I think Joseph became the heart of LaunchBox, and I think everybody who's been involved knows about the work he put in, the effort he put in, in working with the teams, and I'm sure they all appreciate that. You have that sense, I guess, straight away. So particularly Joey, thank you very much for your engagement. I think we have a small token for you from the teams, which is it's a token that if you can't read it, it's think like Zuck. I think in terms of world domination, if Zuck taught like Joey does, I think we'd all be in trouble. I think there's a great future for Joey. Thank you. Okay, so in the spirit of the occasion, here's the pitch. So if you're a student, I hope you're going to have a project for LaunchBox next year. Right. If you're a recent alumni, you just graduated, ditto. Hopefully you'll be back here next year. We hope that we'll scale up this activity significantly in the coming years, along with a lot of other initiatives. If you're a Trinity alumnus or a friend of the college, and if you have a track record in business and entrepreneurship and in venture capital, then we'd love you to get involved in the Trinity Angels. So please do be involved in mentoring, open your networks to the students, because they will benefit from it and they will do great things on the back of that. If you can think of any other way to support us in this aspiration to help our students to develop their careers and their ideas, we'd love to hear from you. And apart from that, drink some beer, talk to the students, invest, buy a bike lock. Thank you.